Togo, why don't you start out today?
I did not bring my list, but I have been attending a variety of events. Most recently, I attended the Habitat for Humanity opening of their homeowner education center, and that was a very nice event.
Commissioner Eadley.
Nothing to report beyond the interviews for the ED.
Nothing to report?
Not at this time.
Okay. I've been so busy with PDC things that I haven't had time to make lists of what I've done, but mostly it's been check-in meetings with the mayor and meetings regarding recruitment of the new executive director. And of course, yesterday we had a half-day meeting, all of us, and so lots of PDC time, but I'm not going to try to make a list. Executive Director.
Thank you, Chair Kelly, Commissioners. First of all, I would like to congratulate PDC's John Jackley on receiving the Liberty and Hope Award from the Oregon League of Minority Voters last month. You can see a profile video of John on our website at pdc.us. New York Times had a great feature on the fair-haired dumbbell at the Burnside Bridgehead last week. I want to acknowledge the huge role that PDC staff throughout the agency played in the redevelopment of this site. Ticket sales are now open for the product pitch party on Thursday, July 28th at the Pacific Northwest College of Art, a competitive one-day pitch fest taking place in front of a live studio audience. PDC is the presenting sponsor with support from Oregon Manufacturing Extension Partnership and Creative Circle Advertising. The event will be a Shark Tank type platform for local makers to present their products to a panel of judges. And for more information, go to designmuseumfoundation.org. The Lentz Street Fair is coming up soon on Sunday, July 31st. And for more information, you can go to www.facebook.com/Lentz Street Fair for details. So congratulations to the Project Increase Program participant Addict Journals. They'll be featured in the October edition of Oprah Winfrey's O Magazine. You can beat the rush, though, by visiting addictjournals.com to view their full line of products. And speaking of Project Increase, the program graduation for the first group of 10 businesses is scheduled for Tuesday, July 26th. I believe Commissioner Cruz may be attending the event. Project Increase is a PDC pilot program designed to take established small business owners of color through a rigorous 7-month cohort-based small business expansion program tailored growth planning course. Congratulations to all of the graduates. And finally, I have to acknowledge that this is Gina Wiedrich's last day at PDC. Gina has accepted a position with the state of Oregon working for a former PDCer, Chris Harder. She's worked with us for the past 8 years, and we wish Gina the very best of luck. Business Oregon is very lucky to have her. So we'll miss you, Gina. And that's all I have, Chair Kelly.
So in that spirit, we have a tradition in the PDC Commission when it's a commissioner's birthday that Gina gets some cupcakes. And so since Willie Ayers is not here today, I'm going to re-gift these. To Gina. So very seriously, thank you for all your good work. It's been great working with you since I've been on the commission, and we're going to miss you. Well, thank you. Is it not inappropriate to give Gina a hand? Let's just give her a hand. Okay, we're now in the public comment period. We have one individual who would like to address us, David Gweither. Did I say your name right, David?
Yes, you did.
Would you like to come forward and take a few minutes? Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm a lobbyist for Peterson's Convenience Stores. Now, this is much more of an informational thing than it is a request at this time, since technically the PDC has not gotten the deal finished so that you would be in control of the space that we would like to inhabit in the future. Now, during the construction project, we would like to stay open. If you see the handout there, on one side of it is a kind of, it was done in color originally, a schematic of the ground floor plan that was the one that the architectural firm that ended up winning the bid used in their presentation. In that plan, at most one wall will be moved of our store, probably not even that. They'll replace the windows and do heating and air conditioning. 99% of the work is going to be done outside of our space, or 98%. They're going to redo the parking part of it, which is 6 stories above us. You can see the overhang, the cement overhang in the photo there, and that protects anybody from construction accidents above us. If there's a fence put around it, we'd be more than happy to help pay for the additional fencing to build a corridor, safety corridor into the building. Talk to the planning, the building permit people, and there is, if we did stay open, there'd have to be a safety plan, which we'd be more than happy to help develop. In terms of the elevators and the stairs, those are some pretty large projects. Luckily, they're not going to be using the one or redoing the one right next to our store. They're going to do one over 100 feet east of our store on the opposite corners of the building. So that won't be a problem. Now, why would we want to stay open in the middle of a construction project? Well, I talked to TriMet, and they're interested in keeping the TriMet stop there open. It's the only one for 8 blocks if you go west, it's one of the major ones in the downtown. Over 2 million people come and go each year at that stop. Some people get off TriMet, grab a bite to eat or a soda or energy drink, and then get back on the next Max. The biggest customer base after that, and probably it could end up being bigger than that even, is the construction workers. We opened early for the construction workers that built the Pac West building to the east of us, and we'd be more than happy to do the same here as and I'm sure that those of you who are in construction realize construction workers burn up and tremble a lot of calories, and they like energy drinks and sodas and fruit juice and fruit and sandwiches, etc. And we have all those things. And if you have a 15-minute break, you won't have to run around town trying to find the items to supplement your lunch. Anyway, I wanted to bring it to your attention. We've contacted the transportation people, and they're going to apprise their project people that we would like to do this. None of the other stores in the project have the same type of customer base that we do. Real Mother Goose, for example, nobody's going to pop in and buy a $200 necklace on their break, but they might buy a $2 soda or energy drink, probably. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I just wanted to make this, since you're getting involved in this project, if negotiations go well, and I certainly expect them to, I thought I'd bring it to your attention near the front of the line of people that I need to talk to rather than near the end. So,
Any questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Our next item on the agenda is a consent agenda authorizing the execution of a fiscal year 2016-17 intergovernmental service level agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I need a motion, sorry. I'm skipping ahead.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, our next item, number 6, is information item update on the Gateway Action Plan. Justin Douglas and Lila Amon. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. I would be remiss being up here and not just spending a brief moment acknowledging Gina's time. I've had the pleasure of working with Gina for the last 3.5 years. And the amount of work that goes into putting on these board meetings is tremendous. And the professionalism and good humor and attention to detail that she puts into these is going to be missed. I feel like this is a bad dream that hopefully I'm going to wake up from to learn that she's not taking a job at Business Oregon, but their gain is our loss. So Gina, I'll miss you. Good luck. So I'm pleased to be here to introduce the draft Gateway Action Plan. I'll just spend a few moments. One of the things I wanted to do was to thank all the staff work behind this action plan. This has been about 9 months, almost a year in the making. Layla Aman has been point, and she's done a great job, so I'd like to acknowledge her work. Susan Kuhn, who's also in the audience today, has done a lot of work working with businesses on the Halsey-Weidler corridor and Gateway, and has done tireless work, so she's, her work is certainly reflected in this draft action plan as well. Just to remind you, this is the third now community action plan that staff have developed at the direction of Mayor Hales and working with Bureau partners and community stakeholders. And we found that these have been a very effective way of articulating shared priorities for a district and then also identifying 5 years of priorities moving forward, which help inform our budget. And then it also just is an effective way of communicating what shared projects and initiatives are among PDC, our Bureau partners, and community folks. So with that, I'll turn this over to Layla.
Thank you. Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. My name is Layla Aman, and I'm a project coordinator in the Urban Development Division. I'm pleased today to talk to you about the Gateway Action Plan draft. As Justin mentioned, this is a third in a series of action plans that PDC has conducted. That this action plan is really taking a geographic approach to the Gateway area. We are focusing in areas that we believe will benefit the most from public investment and serve to help lift the entire district. The focus primarily is in the Halsey-Weidler Business District, and that builds off a significant amount of work that has been conducted over the years in the district. It is the heart of community plans and priorities, and there are significant publicly owned assets in this area. It is also sort of the historic heart of Gateway. It's got great urban form, and it's great potential for creating and establishing community there. The other two areas that we are focusing on in the action plan are the Gateway Transit Center and Central Gateway. Now, what the action plan attempts to do really is to temper goals and to focus our resources based on where the areas are within the development curve. And what I mean by that is really what is the nature of the public role given an area's development readiness. Some of the major issues that Central Gateway, Gateway Transit Center, are dealing with are systemic or physical constraints. So a lack of connectivity, regulatory issues that are barriers to development. And so what we did is we focused our actions in these areas to address those issues first so that we could set the stage for development. Whereas Halsey-Weidler is a little bit further along that development spectrum. It's really on the cusp. It has fundamental elements, as I've mentioned, already in place, a strong urban form, good environment there, and a lot of local businesses. And so this area, we believe, is really at the precipice of becoming a much more vibrant and active district and really serving as the heart of the district. And then once an area really reaches its feasibility hurdle, the idea is the public steps out and the private sector takes over. So to give you kind of an overview of the major actions in the Halsey-Weidler Business District, and again, I just want to emphasize that there has been a great deal of work here, and as Justin mentioned, Susan Kuhn, who's a project manager, has been working with many businesses there, longtime property owners, businesses from people of color, so really making a concerted effort to help and build wealth creation and prosperity among people within this district. The primary goals within the district are to promote and support business development, to promote redevelopment of publicly owned properties, and work with private property owners as well to redevelop their properties. Enhancing safety and business viability. Allison Wicks will be introducing for your approval the Halsey-Weidler Intergovernmental Agreement for the Halsey-Weidler Streetscape Project. Safety is a major issue and a major part of that effort. Also, identifying opportunities for additional housing within the district, improving pedestrian and bicycle connectivity, but not just within the district, but between the district, the Gateway Transit Center, and other areas in Gateway. The idea here is really to promote a vital, healthy, and safe and business district. Within the Gateway Transit Center, our focus here is really assessing zoning classifications and the regulatory barriers to help unlock development. There are high aspirations for this area, but the market is just simply not there yet. And so we want to find a way to both temper not necessarily temper the aspirations, but align the regulatory framework with what we hope to achieve and what the market can really provide. And to prioritize and implement projects that enhance, again, pedestrian and bicycle safety. We heard a lot about connecting both between and among these districts as being a major desire. And then finally, to facilitate future redevelopment. There's a number of large vacant properties in this area. And so again, working through some of these systemic issues to set the stage for the opportunity to redevelop those properties. And then finally, Central Gateway, the real goal here is to attract jobs and to prioritize transportation projects and support businesses by using our enterprise zone program. So we did a significant amount of community outreach as part of this effort. We did an open house, and we had over 70 attendees come to that. So that was pretty significant. We did a very extensive outreach to folks. So we held the meeting at IRCO, so the Immigrant Refugee Community Organization. We had the invitation translated into 3 different languages, and we also pushed it out to as many networks as we could to get a broad spectrum of folks there. We also conducted an online town hall survey and allowed folks to provide feedback online. We held it open for 2 weeks, and we got about 120 people that visited the site, and just under 70 people actually participated. And so they helped us prioritize the actions as well as providing detailed comments, and we also accepted comments from folks that were willing to provide them. We held meetings individually with the Portland Police Bureau, the East Portland Action Plan, the neighborhood organizations, the Halsey-Weidler Group, and the Gateway Area Business Association as well. And we got some significant feedback, and we really made a strong effort to include that in the updated plan. So the version that you've seen includes some of the changes that are a result of the community feedback that we got. In particular, what we heard was there was a strong support for the geographic approach and the focus in Halsey-Weidler. However, there was also a desire to have some flexibility and to provide resources to respond to potential opportunities throughout the district. And so what we did is we created a $5 million opportunity fund. There are $35 million we project remaining in the district. And so we've set that aside to be an opportunistic pot should something come up, and we will be able to respond effectively to that. We also heard loud and clear there's a real strong desire for mixed income housing, not just in Halsey-Weidler, but throughout the district. And so the plan is designed to reflect that feedback. The priority actions that we heard, basically just people really supporting what was already in the plan, is implementing infrastructure improvements, exploring redevelopment, investing in amenities, and targeted business support in Halsey-Weidler districts. Those were very important priorities to those who participated in the public feedback. Gateway Transit Center, again, exploring opportunities for redevelopment, building partnerships to fund infrastructure projects, and better connecting the transit system to the rest of the district. And finally, Central Gateway, utilizing employment-related tools to attract new development and exploring ways to fund new street connections. As Justin mentioned, we worked very closely with our partners throughout the development of this project, and I want to acknowledge Assistant Director of Housing, Javier Mena, is here today and will be providing testimony, and Tom Armstrong from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. Our partners are also working with us and implementing actions in the Gateway area. The Bureau of Planning and Sustainability is examining their large site master plan provisions to help address some of the regulatory issues that we have heard are barriers to development out there, as well as assessing design review opportunities and opportunities to update those standards. The Bureau of Transportation is helping to fund the Halsey-Weidler Streetscape, and Allison will talk about that next. There's several bike connectivity projects either in the hopper or on the way. And also looking at ways that we can utilize system development charges to help facilitate some of the necessary bike and pedestrian and other connectivity improvements needed in the district, as well as exploring local improvement districts to help build local streets. And finally, the Housing Bureau is working with us to identify opportunity sites for mixed income housing throughout the district. To give you a sense of the anticipated resources that we see going into the Gateway area, PDC anticipates about $35 million over the next 5 years. The Portland Housing Bureau has about $13 million over the next 5 years. And PBOT, this is, I think, a low estimate, but this is what we know, which is about $5 million going into the district. And as I mentioned, there are other projects that are in development and system development charges that would possibly apply as well. So there's a significant amount of resources that we hope to bring together and implement collaboratively in the area. To give you a sense of where we are in the plan, this you won't be able to read, but just gives you a snapshot of where we hope to go in the next 5 years. But to give you a sense of where we are now, we are implementing actively right now. So the Halsey-Weidler, again, Business District Streetscape, the construction IGA is up next. That will be under construction next year. Gateway Discovery Park is currently under construction. There's also the 106th and Halsey redevelopment project that is currently in discussions as well. And the business assistance that Susan has been working on for a number of years, 10 active business participants right now in various stages of their projects. So there's a lot of activity happening and will continue as we move forward in the implementation of the project. So with that, I'll close and open it up to any questions.
Commissioners, questions?
No specific questions, but great work. I'm really impressed. Thank you.
A request and a question. A question is, can you talk a little bit about the regulatory issues that the neighbors are facing?
Yeah, what we heard in the Gateway Transit Center are things like a very high floor area ratio requirements. And so you have a lot of very large sites. And so in order to develop currently, that's something that we've heard as a challenge. And so perhaps Tom can speak in more detail to it, but what we are looking at is finding ways to, I think, preserve the aspirations for Gateway, but to allow some phasing perhaps, or some other strategies as well. And then design review is also something that we've heard is contributing to slowing down potential redevelopment.
And the request is, 18 months ago, when we approved the money for parks, we'd asked parks to come back and update us on the budget and just the process and how it goes through the construction. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the report. So I was actually looking at your proposed timeline, and I'm one who sort of pays attention to language, and I want to understand semantics, right?
Sure.
So we talked about aspiration and intentions. In your timeline on the purple box here, you have opportunity-based, and in the description is sort of conditional. So it says actions are priority for implementation as opportunities arise. So the condition is that if the opportunity arises, then you move forward with the action. And some of the boxes in purple here, I just want to get a little bit more clarification on. Again, they're based on aspiration versus intention. So you've got action 2.3, which is to work with property owners to explore opportunities for redevelopment. Those are all purple boxes. You've got identify opportunity sites for mixed use and mixed income housing. So I just want to understand that and match that with some of the funding that you've allocated to the Portland Housing Bureau, like the $13 million. I mean, that to me suggests that there's an intention to secure housing in this project. So
Yes.
Can you help me just understand that a little better?
Certainly. So yes, I think the $13 million is for housing, and that is the intention, and that will be what those resources are used for. I think the idea of saying it's opportunity-based is that we will be actively engaging with partners, and so we can't determine right now what those opportunities are, but we will be intentional about working with partners to implement projects that warrant and meet sort of the goals of that district. So I think it's indicating that we're actively looking for partnerships, but we don't know exactly what those partnerships look like right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't think I have any questions. I'm just excited to see Gateway moving forward.
Chair Kelly, we do have several folks who'd like to testify. I don't believe I've handed you any sign-in sheets yet, but
You haven't.
so let me go back to my desk, see what I have there, and then we'll call them up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't, but maybe. Oh, great.
Okay, we have Javier from Portland Housing. Come on up and welcome. And Tom Armstrong from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. It's a pleasure being here this morning to talk to you about the Gateway Action Plan. I want to, first of all, congratulate the PDC team, Kimberly and Justin and Layla, who have done a tremendous job in not only drafting the plan, but also inviting the partners to be able to be part of the development of the plan, and the inclusiveness that has happened in the neighborhood and the neighborhood associations as to how this plan came about. So in regard to the $13 million in the housing, we are very excited being able to invest these resources in a much needed area, as well as the partnership and relationship that we have and continue to develop with the Portland Development Commission. One of the areas where we definitely are very excited that we will have affordable housing is on the site on 106th and Halsey. We have, in partnership with PDC, we have selected a developer that for exclusive development rights who will engage the community in the design and programming of the site. That will be something that catalytic, as has always been envisioned, but also have an ability to house not only low-income families, but also have market rate units. So that's kind of, it's exciting. Also, as was asked in terms of the intentionality of the resources, we are and will be actively looking for other investment opportunities for affordable housing, whether it's mixed income or 100% affordable. Right now, we have two projects that are fully 100% affordable housing on 100 and actually on 99th and Halsey. And Gleason, and there's 120 units. And so we're looking with the additional resources being able to expand on that. Once again, it's very exciting. I congratulate the team and the work that they've done, and we are really looking forward to this partnership. Thank you.
Any more questions for Javier? Mr. Thompson.
Good morning, Chair Kelly and Commissioners. I'm Tom Armstrong, Supervising Planner with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. And I want to echo Javier's remarks about the partnership between BPS and PDC staff and really see this Gateway Action Plan as a continuing effort in our partnership in the way they helped us with our comprehensive plan and making sure that they're in alignment and really support Gateway as the major center in East Portland, that we've long had that vision and that continues out through the comprehensive plan, and that this action plan really helps support that short-term implementation of that long-term vision and goal that's in the comprehensive plan. I think Layla really hit on some of the key highlights, that the geographic approach and strategies for the three different areas are really embedded in the comprehensive plan and the policies there in terms of supporting local economic development and business growth in the Halsey-Weidler corridor and looking at the transit-oriented development around the transit center. And then really one of the major changes in the comp plan was that the south area, Central Gateway, where we did in fact change the zoning there to a more mixed employment, general employment zoning, to have that focus on jobs, and that really syncs up with what we saw and we're hearing through the comprehensive plan process. To speak to Commissioner Edlin's questions about zoning regulations and reform, BPS is currently undertaking what we call the Design Overlay Zone Assessment. That's a citywide look at design review. And Gateway is one of the focus areas to look at how that is, how design review projects and processes are working, again, both citywide, but one of the areas where we are looking at case studies is how it's working in Gateway. We expect that work to wrap up by the end of the year, and then into 2017 and beyond, we will be looking at specific updates to community design standards and design guidelines, and sort of reforms or adjustments to the design review process in whole to make it a smoother process, and so that we can achieve better design and development outcomes. With respect to the sort of Gateway Transit area, it is on our radar screen to look at the large site master plan provisions, especially the minimum FARs that we now have in there. We are currently working on our mixed use zoning code update project. Again, that's a citywide look. One of those elements in there, we are looking at actually on the other end of the scale, FAR bonuses for large site master plans. And so what we're anticipating to do is learn from that process and see where that results out and gets adopted by the end of the year. And then in early 2017, taking a closer look with a zoning code update project for the Gateway Plan District, and specifically those master plan provisions and the minimum FARs, and really go through a process to look at how we can adjust it to get development going, as Layla said, without sort of sacrificing the long-term vision of wanting to have a dense and vibrant center around the MAX station there.
Is the transit center the only place where we have minimum FARs?
I do not know that. I can check on that in terms of the plan district provisions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any more questions for Mr. Armstrong? Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have Tom Bodrick from Park Rose Heights Neighborhood Association to testify about this item. Welcome.
So I'm going to keep this very brief. My name's Tom Bedrick, and thank you, Chair Kelly and Commissioners, for listening to us in the community. What I want to say specifically, because I'm going to be talking about another topic in a minute, is that we're very excited in this community about the investment that PDC is willing to make in our community, and I wear a number of hats, whether it's the neighborhood association, and I'm involved in the business association, and then a number of other groups, and this investment is timely and significant, and we're very appreciative of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to, well, actually, we had some confusion about the location of the meeting, so I am going to have Tanya Barnum come up as a rework of our public comment for a few minutes. Tanya? You have 3 minutes or less.
Okay. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, particularly because you have a really important agenda and this is a very tiny thing. So I appreciate you giving me the time to talk. I believe that you may have been sent a document about a public EV charging station that is located on a PDC lot on MLK. I'm a longtime resident of this neighborhood, and I'm familiar, actually, Commissioner Kelly and Mr. Edlin, Commissioner Edlin, with a lot of your really positive work around sustainability in the city of Portland, and I appreciate that very much. I think having worked in solar storage, you know, on a community level for a very long time, the hard part about making those policies is where the rubber hits the road is really what impacts consumer behavior. And if we want widespread adoption of EVs, those EV charging stations need to be ubiquitous, readily available, and comparative, at least, to fossil fuels. So buying a new car, I bought an EV Chevy Volt. Thanks, Mr. Kelly, for having an EV charger at your building. Unfortunately, someone knocked it off, broke it, so it is no longer there. So I live in what's now called the Williams Corridor. 2 blocks away from my house are now moving in thousands of new people. However, within a 1-mile radius of my home, there is only one close by EV charging station, and it is the PDC's EV charging station in that residential neighborhood with tons of people on that lot. Couple of weeks ago, 8:45, I had to get my kid to bed. It's a residential neighborhood. Residential EV charging takes anywhere from 4 to 8 hours for a complete charge. I plugged into the station. I paid my money. I did see the signs that said that there was towing between 2:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. in the lot, but I thought this can't possibly apply to the EVs because there are only 2 spots out of the 2,250 square feet of parking, which, by the way, I never see occupied. I've lived there for 15 years, and it's not like there's a huge demand for this parking in this lot. I plug in my vehicle. By the way, this station is also twice as expensive as any other charging station, such as the Blink stations in Portland. I come back the next morning and assume my car is stolen. After I managed to get my daughter to camp, I find out that actually my car has been towed. My car has been damaged. I now owe $230, and obviously, this is a policy that's at odds with the reality of how residential people are going to use these EV charging stations. I bring this up only because, you know, $300 is like, that's my grocery budget for the month, and it's gone in one morning. I'm obviously going to try to find creative ways to not have to use that station again, if at all possible. But I know that you guys care about this in your broader development agenda, and I guess I'm asking you to think about the little people and about the practical ways that people's lives interact with this type of technology. Things as people begin to have and ask for more storage for resilience when coupled with solar photovoltaics. When we look at trying to get a higher penetration of EV charging stations to make this a reality, I'm begging you to work with some of the people in your organization to have friendly attitudes toward the implementation of that. And I will say that the individual that I worked with was very pleasant and polite, but in that government bureaucrat kind of a way, was like, go yourself. The only reason that we got the policy changed is that I went with the developer to the King Neighborhood Association that the PDC implementer hadn't even contacted since 2008 and had the policy changed. So the policy is now changed, but I wanted to let you know about, I'm not the only person who was towed from that lot under similar circumstances, and I just want to bring that up as, you know, you're working on these very large policy things, as is what you should be doing as commissioners, but also think about how those policies are implemented by the staff at the PDC. And that's all. Thank you so much. I know it's a little issue, but I appreciate very much your time, and I appreciate all the things that you're doing that are right in Portland.
Thank you very much for coming. Our next item is an action item, Resolution 7201, Report 1640, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Bureau of Transportation for construction of the Halsey-Weidler Streetscape Improvement Project in the Gateway Urban Renewal Area. It's providing funding in the amount of not to exceed $1,600,000. Allison, you're on.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. My name is Allison Wicks. I'm a project coordinator with the Portland Development Commission, and I'll be presenting the action item for the Halsey-Weidler Streetscape Improvement Project. As you've already heard this morning, the Halsey-Weidler Commercial District in the Gateway Urban Renewal Area is the historic heart of the Gateway Business District. It is a home to a unique mixture of locally owned businesses and neighborhood amenities. And with the Streetscape Improvement Project that I'll talk about today, we're hoping to build upon that history and the potential of the area to create a thriving business district with a pedestrian-friendly Main Street feel. The proposed board action that for your consideration is to authorize an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Bureau of Transportation for the construction of the Halsey-Weidler Streetscape Improvement Project in the Gateway Urban Renewal Area, providing a funding in a not-to-exceed amount of $1.6 million. Susan Kuhn, project manager with PDC, led the 2014 efforts to create the Halsey-Weidler Commercial District Investment Strategy and the Halsey-Weidler Streetscape Improvement Plan and Streetscape Vision. Each of these efforts involved an extensive outreach and public input process from community members and business owners, which I'll touch on in a little bit. And in these plans, and in addition in the Gateway Action Plan, across the board, the Halsey-Weidler couplet has been identified as a key place to invest both in business and in infrastructure improvements. The two priorities of the streetscape vision include safety, to slow traffic, enhance the pedestrian environment, and improve lighting, and identity, to create a cohesive impact through streetscape improvements, revitalize storefronts, and to capture the historic identity of Gateway. The package of streetscape improvements that we are bringing forward today will take a significant step to making those goals a reality. The scope of the Halsey-Weidler streetscape improvements include improvements along both Northeast Halsey and Northeast Weidler from 102nd to 112th. Pedestrian-scaled lighting and street trees will be installed throughout the corridor. Intersection improvements will include marked crosswalks where possible, 2 sets of rapid flash beacons, and curb extensions at corners, which will shorten crossing distances from over 40 feet to closer to 20 feet. The project also includes improvements to 2 blocks of 103rd Avenue, which you can see in the top diagram, which will turn an underused, unimproved street into a flexible street that will provide opportunities for outdoor cafe-style seating on a festival-style street. The existing bike lanes along the corridor will be reconfigured into separated bike lanes, which will place the bike lanes adjacent to the curb with the lane of parking protecting bikers from moving traffic. These will be the first separated bike lanes installed in East Portland. PDC and PBOT are also working with the community on design for the East Entry Triangle at 112th. The triangle will be a stormwater feature and also a visual landmark for people entering the district. In addition, we found out recently that PBOT will provide funding for the paving of Halsey Street from 92nd to 114th. From this map of the Halsey-Weidler corridor, you can see the proximity of the streetscape improvements to other efforts in the area. The street trees and street lighting will be installed throughout the corridor. The yellow circles identify where there will be improved intersections, and the orange circles are where the rapid flash beacons will be installed. The beacons at 106 are the ones adjacent to the Gateway Discovery Park, and this will allow easy access from the neighbors that live in the Park Rose Heights neighborhood to the north. Also 106 will be where the 100s bikeway intersects the district in the future. The blue dots are where the businesses that Susan Kuhn has been working with through the Commercial District Improvement Pilot Program in the area. She's been working with businesses and property owners to assess their needs, provide support for both storefront and interior improvements. The goal has been to work with businesses and to improve the streetscape in parallel to create a thriving retail corridor and a pedestrian-friendly environment. Starting in 2014, a significant amount of public involvement has gone into the creation of the Halsey-Weidler Commercial District Investment Strategy, the Streetscape Vision, and now also the design phase of the Streetscape Improvement Project. We've sent out mailers to residents and businesses. Then we also held 2 open houses focusing on business owners and focusing on the reconfiguration of the bike lane. The bike lane is going to be removing some parking spaces And we wanted to address business owners' concerns, so we had PBOT map out exactly where the parking spaces will be removed and had follow-up one-on-one conversations with business owners that will be impacted to find solutions that work for them. This included adjustments to the design and adjustments to existing parking signage along the corridor. In addition, we presented this project as a part of the Gateway Action Plan open house in May. This is a project that along the way the community has advocated for and is excited to see get started. Dean Sterner from the Riverview Community Bank and Tom Broderick, who you just heard from the Park Rose Heights Neighborhood Association, are both here to voice their support on how this project will help implement the community's vision for the Halsey-Weidler District. This is a high-level timeline of the project. We signed the design and engineering IGA last July, and today we're at 60% design with a final design package expected to be completed this fall. Over the winter, PBOT will advertise for construction and award the contract, with construction scheduled to start in March 2017 and be completed by the end of the year. PDC's business and workforce equity policy will be applied to this project, and PDC and PBOT will work together to keep businesses informed of the construction schedule and the potential impacts on their operations. Finally, this is a summary of the budget for the project. So the budget for the streetscape construction IGA includes a $1.6 million contribution from the PDC Gateway Urban Renewal Area budget and a $1.3 million in contributions from the PBOT system development charges. In addition, the Portland Bureau of Environmental Services is providing $91,000 through their 1% for Green program. This will go to the stormwater features of the East Entry Triangle. And then PBOT, through the Fix Our Streets program, is providing $2.2 million for the paving of Halsey Street. The construction budgets, along with the funds for the design and engineering IGA, total $5.5 million investment for the Halsey-Weidler Commercial District. That concludes my presentation. Dan Layden is also here from PBOT, along with a few community members, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, commissioners?
Right here. Thank you.
Can we have Mr. Layden come up?
Is this one on? I don't think it is.
Welcome.
I'll share it.
Sure. Good morning, Chair Kelly, members of the commission. I'm Dan Layden, the Capital Program Manager for the Bureau of Transportation. We're very excited to be here this morning. This is a continuation of a great partnership we've had with PDC over the years in improving the streets and infrastructure in Gateway, and I think this is another step in that direction. The Bureau is particularly excited about the ability to be able to install protected bike lanes, which is something we've been endeavoring to do in other parts of the city to provide a more effective bicycle network. We're also very excited to provide more rapid flash beacons, which makes it easier for folks to cross the street, and the lighting and other improvements which will improve the business environment. This is really a joint partnership between the two bureaus. The Bureau is providing $1.3 million in system development charge funds, along with another $2.4 million from our recently passed Fix Our Streets initiative, which will, at the end of the day, provide essentially a completely brand new street with new paving, new sidewalks. It will really, I think, significantly enhance the environment around Halsey and Weidler. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions, commissioners? Thank you both. I think we have a couple of guests, Mr. Sterner and Mr. Bodrick, or come back up, Mr. Bodrick. And I've known Mr. Dean Sterner for many years, so you know I'm welcoming you particularly to the PDC Commission.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Kelly, Executive Director, and Commissioners. We appreciate this opportunity. I get the opportunity to go ahead and visit with you not only from my employer's point of view, but from the Gateway Area Business Association, which is the oldest business association in Portland, as well as in the state, and we're representing 86 of those members right now. On behalf of what the overview provided by Layla as well as Allison, they did it very, very well. Our job as members of the group, as we gave input, we suggested things, they were receptive to it, and we are equally very, very happy that City of Portland, PDC, and Gateway are working in this environment. We believe that we are the outer petals of the rose of the City of Portland, and for a long time, we just have not had any maintenance done. So this is warmly welcomed, and we appreciate it. Those things that we have done, we've hosted a number of meetings for the public. We've had all kinds of agreements, disagreements, compromise, disassociations, re-engagements. It has been a learning experience for myself, and one that I have truly enjoyed working on. For the last 3.5 years, when Susan asked me to join on, I thought, okay, but I did not realize that this was going to be the experience that it is. There's a lot of fulfillment in here. We made the recommendations, and our primary was the safety of our residents, the prosperity of our business owners, and the wealth of the city in itself. So far, with everything that was discussed on the street improvements, as well as with the bump outs, or the curb extensions, we have not had any opposition. The business owners on that area of Halsey and Weidler are very receptive. Our only area that has had any opposition was the placement of the bike lane, be it on the inside or be it on the outside. There's motions one way and the other, and individuals have their own reason for why they wanted it, but that's really been about the extent of it. The aspect of the lighting we felt is important because it's curb appeal to the community. We want Gateway to be a destination and not a pass-through environment. By the bump outs, it slows down the traffic. It gives an opportunity of safety with the construction of the park that's going in there, as well as what we are anticipating with the residential housing in that area too. We want to make sure that it's a safe, nice, enjoyable place to live. The other aspects of that and the vision that was talked about on the couplet is at both ends of it, we have little triangles. We want to dress up the eastbound so that when you're coming into that area, it shows that we are still eco-district oriented. We want the stormwater collection system in there so that we can go ahead and recycle, remove that. We want it to have an appeal to the public. We don't want it to be a distraction. And we got a beautiful Douglas spur in there that we'd like to showcase. And with that, thank you very, very much for this opportunity. I'll pass to Tom.
I'm going to be lazy and use this microphone too. Thank you again for the opportunity to present. Dean has managed to cover everything that I could possibly have wanted to talk about initially, so I'm going to limit my comments to a couple other things. There are obviously tangibles that come with a project like this, the improved safety, the sidewalks, the lighting. What I want to mention are the intangibles, and there is a significant amount of distrust of government in East Portland, especially in that area, for the years of what people feel like are neglect and being incorporated when they didn't necessarily want to. This project has been an absolutely fantastic experience from the public perspective to build some of that trust that has lost, to create an environment where it's no longer so much of a what are they doing to us to we're working together with them. And I can't thank the staff that are behind me in the room and not with us today for the tremendous job that they have done. They have been outstanding ambassadors for the city. The other intangibles, though, are community building within the community. And so the example I'm going to provide is it was a great event on Friday, and I welcome you all to come out on Friday, Saturday, but we have a bike shop on 106 directly across from the park called Outer Rim. And he has a space that he wants to activate. He's a young business owner, and so he's worked with one of our other local businesses, Gateway Brewing, to have 2 days a week a pop-up brewery. And now we're working on food carts, and that's not something that was inspired by some government program. It was community members who have met each other through this process who are working together to make a better neighborhood. And it brings people out, and whether you like beer or not, you don't have to drink beer or eat the tacos, but at least people are coming out and talking to each other in an informal environment, and that's something that we have not had in that community. So there are all sorts of the tangibles that Dean listed, and I echo what he has to say. This has been a fantastic project, and I can't wait to see it built, and there are many other things that we're working on because this happened, but the intangibles of community building are a huge bonus that has come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for these gentlemen?
Just the comment that if you get tired of your day jobs, we'll have positions for you at PDC. Love your enthusiasm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and obviously to have that enthusiasm from the community is a reflection on the staff, so thank you for your good work. I would be receptive to a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay. Our next item is number 8, Resolution 7202, Report 1614, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Housing Bureau to provide housing programs and support services to the Portland Housing Bureau for the purpose of operating and administrating the Economic Opportunity Initiative Program. Welcome to everyone.
Good morning, Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. I'm Tony Barnes, Budget Officer. I'm joined today by Deputy Director Kimberly Branham and Housing Deputy Director Javier Mena. Today we're presenting action before you authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between PDC and the Portland Housing Bureau. It's Resolution 7202. I'll provide a little background on the attached term sheet in the resolution and a little background on where we're at today and the budget for the contract. Since the creation of the Portland Housing Bureau in 2009, PDC and PHB have annually entered into 3 different intergovernmental agreements for the transfer of appropriate resources so each agency can implement economic development and affordable housing goals in the city. All set-aside resources were budgeted and reimbursed from PDC to PHB in the Housing Rehabilitation Finance Development IGA. Then there was a PDC support services contract that provided support services to PHB for property management and insurance, as well as some IT services. And then Community Development Block Grant Resources, Program for Economic Development, Workforce Development, Small Business Development, were transferred from PHB to PDC for the Economic Opportunity Initiative, IGA. For fiscal year 2016-17, PDC and PHB are proposing that the terms of these agreements are rolled into a single IGA, and the final IGA is being currently finalized by PDC and PHB, and staff have included a term sheet that's included in your board documents attached to the resolution as Exhibit A. The key elements of the IGA clarifies the respective roles and responsibilities of PDC and PHB. It identifies under what circumstances PDC and PHB are designated the lead agency in mixed-use to mixed-income projects. As I mentioned, it reduces the amount of support services and established 16-17 as the final year services for PDC provision of services for property management and insurance, and establishes the annual budget, continues the terms and conditions for transferring TIF and CDBG resources between PDC and PHB for set-aside and EOI programs. The PHB scope of work includes PHB is being responsible for satisfying the requirements of the Affordable Housing Set-Aside Policy, PDC reimbursing PHB for TIF-related housing projects. The amounts are established in the PHB estimated project expenditure timing and the program by URA based on the housing set-aside forecast. And the amounts are appropriated in the PDC and City of Portland adopted budgets, so it's in both budgets for 16-17. And the amounts are allocated between project, capital, and financial assistance. The set-aside budget in the IGA is broken out, as I mentioned, by urban renewal area and by capital and financial assistance, then also personnel services and administration. So these amounts are contract budgets that are billed on a monthly basis from PHB to PDC. There's a program income component here where PHB receives income from prior investments. Those amounts are part of the overall PHB budget in the urban rural areas, and any construction draws go against the program income before they're included in the budget draw for capital and financial assistance or personnel and indirect. So that leads to a total contract budget of $73.85 million. Some of the main projects included there, and Javier could provide more background, are included the post office acquisition of $14.5 million, the housing component, the 14th and Raleigh project in River District, around $6 million, Lentz Town Center projects totaling about $8.7 million, Northeast projects about $10 million, including homeownership retention, the River Place project in North Macadam, about $8.1 million, and about $11 million in additional opportunity and 2015 NOFA resources. A little more perspective here on the housing set-aside. Over the next 10 years, there's about $300 million total allocated for affordable housing out of TIF based on the amended TIF set-aside policy. So the $74 million in the IGA going forward represents about 25% of the remaining TIF resources in the URAs. On a PDC scope of work and funding, it's broken out into two areas from two of the prior contracts. Support services, so PDC support services will decrease with the intent to discontinue property management, environmental construction service as of January 1st, 2017. We are maintaining property insurance on 2 properties through June 30th. The budget's about $127,000 for all of those services. And then the Economic Opportunity Initiative, PHB will reimburse PDC for monthly invoices related to CDBG EOI activities around workforce development and small business development. This was previously approved by the Board Resolution 7181 on June 8th. It just incorporates it into this overall IGA. And just a quick summary of the EOI budget that was presented, I believe, back in June. The CDBG resources of $2.1 million represent a component of the overall EOI funding of $4.6 million, which includes $2.2 million on the IGA that was approved earlier this morning with the City of Portland for general fund resources. I'm going to hand it over to Kimberly now.
Good morning, Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. So as Tony mentioned, this helps clarify, this IGA helps clarify and adds a fuller sense of the relationship between Portland Development Commission and the Portland Housing Bureau. And I would like to recognize Javier as well as Mike Johnson and Kurt Krieger at the Housing Bureau. We work really closely together. There's no more important relationship than the one that we have with the Housing Bureau, and I think this helps set both for transparency what we are doing collaboratively together and the practices that we already have in place in an informal way. And it also makes clear those aspirations and the expectations that the community can have of both agencies and that we can have of one another. So it clarifies from a policy level that the Housing Bureau is responsible for setting housing policy citywide, and PDC for putting together economic development and community development policies. And then within the toolkit that the programs that the Housing Bureau is responsible for fall, at least on the TIF side, largely within affordable housing for 0 to 60% median family income in general, and that PDC puts together and makes investments, as you've seen this morning, in an array of commercial, industrial, infrastructure, and at times residential, but above the 60% level to make sure that we're delivering on our economic development and community development objectives. So that's the policy clarification that is created. And then because we've had so many opportunities and we desire to continue to have opportunities to co-invest, we also wanted to make sure that for mixed use projects that there was clarity about who was in the lead, both from the public side, but then in working with the development partner so that they could understand to whom they should expect to hear and be able to address any concerns. And so what we clarified is that for those projects that are exclusively invested in by the Housing Bureau, so which are using the 45% affordable housing set aside, that the Housing Bureau is in the lead and that they would consult PDC for any ground floor retail. On the other side, if PDC and our resources are being used and there are no set-aside resources, but if there's a residential component, then PDC would consult with the Housing Bureau to make sure that our residential investments are in alignment with the overall with the overall housing priorities in the city. We further clarified that for those projects where it's mixed income and mixed use, that whoever's the property owner would be the lead negotiator unless we decided amongst ourselves otherwise. And then if there is no property owner, that we would look at the level of ownership and the level of financial investment to designate a lead. What it means to be a lead is that you are responsible for putting up a project plan, a term sheet for public engagement, but also consulting directly with the Bureau partner before working with the development partner and for communication. So we're really excited about this inclusion in the IGA, and I think that with that, we'll take any questions. And of course, Javier is here if you have any specific questions about projects or their investments.
I actually do.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I think it makes sense to sort of consolidate the effort and to further clarify roles. I'd just like to kindly suggest that as we move forward, given the fact that affordable housing is such a high priority for the city, that we do get more regular updates from the Portland Housing Bureau. And also the expectation, anticipation that you all are meeting and communicating closely. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hello? Oh, there you go. If I can just ask a clarifying question, what kind of updates are you looking for? Would you like to see?
Well, you've got so we just talked about sort of one today, the $13 million investment that you're looking to make in Gateway. I just want to know sort of the progress towards those goals, to hear more regularly about that in your other investments and how the money is being spent.
Okay.
I just have one question. Staff impact with winding down PDC services at the end of this year, will we be transferring any people over to housing for that, or will we be eliminating some people from PDC?
No, this is consistent with our current staffing allocation for 16-17. So there's a position that's leaving, not included in the budget for 16-17. So this lines up well with the budget. There's no transfer of resources, staffing resources.
Okay. And on the defeasance of the headwaters, I assume that's just a cost of money opportunity?
Yes, it is.
Great. Nice to see you take advantage of it.
It is, and as well as being able to, right now the project has been working as an unrestricted project somewhat, and so we will actually be restricting half of the units or close to half of the units to a 60% median family income, so we can actually bring it into the affordable housing portfolio.
Great. Thank you.
Well, it's great that you've worked this out, and I think the chair would accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Item number 10 is an information item, update on acquisition of the United States Post Office Service Processing and Distribution Center at 715 Northwest Hoyt in the River District Urban Renewal Area. We have Sarah Harpole and Eric Jacobson. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair Kelly, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown. My name is Eric Jacobson, Senior Project Manager with the Real Estate and Lending Team.
Good morning, and I'm Sarah Harpole, Senior Project Manager in the Urban Development Department.
And we're here to give you an update on the acquisition of the post office property. As a reminder, the property is about 13.4 acres. It's located in the central city, bounded by Northwest Hoyt, Northwest 9th, Northwest Lovejoy, and Broadway. We were last here 3 months ago in April, was the last time we gave you an update. So the purpose of today is to give you an update on what's happened in the past 3 months, because there's a lot of moving parts to this project. As a reminder about the overall transaction structure, so PDC is purchasing the property shown on the screen right now and that I just described. We refer to that as the downtown property. We're buying that for $88 million. The Postal Service is in turn taking the funds we're using to purchase that property together with their own funds and buying a property at the airport we refer to as the Colwood property and building a replacement facility in that location. That will take about 2.5 years. During that 2.5 year period, PDC will own the downtown property and lease that property back to the Postal Office, Postal Service, so they'll continue operations during that period of time. After the Postal Service relocates to the replacement facility, We will then begin redevelopment activities. And the only exception to that is the retail facility where you go into the post office today to take care of your postal transactions. That there will be a replacement facility somewhere in this area that PDC is responsible for constructing. So there we go. So here's a list of things that have happened or are still underway in the past 3 months. The PDC board approved the terms under which PDC would buy the downtown property. You approved those terms in January and February. So since then, in May, PDC and the Postal Service signed the purchase and sale agreement. At the same time, the Postal Service signed an option agreement with Trammell Crow to buy the Colwood property. Over the past several months, PDC has advanced a total of $7.2 million to the Postal Service. These funds have been used to fund the design of the replacement facility, the option payment on the replacement facility, and also some site improvement work at the Colwood property. All of these payments are applicable to the purchase price. Next is the prospective purchaser agreement. This is a document that PDC was responsible for preparing. It relates to the downtown property and the environmental conditions there. It sets the standards under which PDC is responsible for remediating environmental conditions. The board approved the prospective purchaser agreement in April, and since then, the district court entered a judgment approving the PPA in June. So that establishes a baseline for going forward on the property. The Postal Service is responsible for conducting an analysis of environmental impacts of the relocation. This is consistent with the National Environmental Policy Act. That work, we just got word this past week, was concluded last Friday, so that's really good news. The Postal Service has been proceeding with designing and soliciting bids and selecting a general contractor for the replacement facility. That work is nearly complete. We hear that all except one of the internal approvals has been made by the post office, and that last approval is by the Postmaster General, and we anticipate that approval will be made by the end of this month. So that's the last Postal Service approval that's needed. We're on track right now to close on the property in early August. And just as a reminder, that's the current anticipated schedule. There's one outstanding item that the post office and Trammell Crow are currently working on concerning some road improvements and how it relates to a water line. This is described in your report. We believe there's solutions to that issue, and everybody's working towards a solution in early August. But the outside date for closing is September 30th. So closing will occur, we believe, somewhere between August 1st and September 30th. We believe it will be on August 1st, based upon everything we know right now. That is good news. So here's the timeline going forward that gets us to redevelopment. At the bottom, you see property redevelopment beginning in January 2019. At the top, those first two lines, site due diligence and replacement design. That's the work I just described for you that's been underway over the past 6 to 8 months and is nearing completion as we get to closing. And then as shown there will be about a 2.5 year period that the replacement facility will be under construction and the Postal Service will relocate to that facility. The next two bars shown on that diagram concern the master planning and other related activities to set the stage for redevelopment, and that's what Sarah Harpel is going to talk to you about next.
I first want to take a minute and echo the applause in the audience. We're very excited that we've reached kind of a significant milestone on moving forward with the acquisition of the site. So concurrent to the efforts that Eric just mentioned around the relocation of the post office site, we are working on a number of activities to prepare the downtown site for future redevelopment. The first involves working with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability on recommendations that are included in the Central City 2035 plan. Most specifically, these speak to increases in the floor area ratio, FAR, maximums from 4 to 1 to 7 to 1 across the site, as well as an increase in the maximum height, which is currently at 75 feet to 750 feet at the southern half of the site and 400 feet at the northern half of the site. We are also evaluating and looking at best practices for the master plan and how and when to engage the public stakeholders in the private sector. And so we're exploring these opportunities and kind of brainstorming best approaches before we formulate a plan to move forward. And then that will allow us, as Eric mentioned, to, once those efforts are complete, to move forward with redevelopment of the site beginning in January of 2019. This schedule is driven in part by our wanting to be very diligent and thoughtful about our approach to this work, but also addressing concerns or interest on behalf of the post office to make sure that our role as a public agency in acquiring the site really adds value to the process and the future redevelopment of this area, and that we're not merely flipping the site or acting as a pass-through to the private sector. So as such, the purchase and sale agreement that we have with the post office includes a number of milestones or provisions in the agreement. These include establishing that we cannot commence the master plan activities until January of 2017 and kind of lays out some expectations on the robustness of this process and approvals. We also cannot enter into any written agreements regarding the future conveyance of the property with any public or private partners until January of 2018, and then cannot actually proceed with that conveyance, lease, other transfers until January of 2019. So leading up to those milestones and upcoming activities, we're doing a number of interim steps. As I mentioned, this includes coordinating with Bureau of Planning and Sustainability on the Central City 2035 recommendations. We anticipate these will be approved by City Council early 2017 and would go into effect early 2018 once the comp plan is recognized by the state of Oregon. We are also kicking off work to evaluate options for enhancing the multimodal transportation functions that are in the area in the vicinity of Union Station. So this includes working with TriMet to look at whether there are potential partnership opportunities for consolidating some of these functions, as well as working with Greyhound, looking at circulation through the area and ensuring that the future public realm engages with these functions well as Union Station and the adjacent post office redevelopment. Internally, we have also started work on a racial equity impact analysis that is looking, under guidance with our Equity Council staff, that is looking at how we can, at the very front end and as well as over the full life of this project, ensure that racial equity is addressed, and brainstorming tools and ideas to ensure that this happens through the life of the project. We also recognize that there's a high level of interest in sustainability approaches for this site, and so we will be looking to engage with industry partners, and likely several of you, in a work session to explore how we can revisit the metrics of success for this project and ensure we have, again, the appropriate tools and ideas for achieving those goals. And then lastly, as Eric mentioned, there is an obligation to retain or replace the retail component of the Postal Service within the area. And so we'll be doing a very preliminary market survey of these opportunities. This includes retaining about 15,000 square feet of retail functions, as well as approximately 50 parking spaces within the area that's bounded by Northwest Lovejoy, Burnside, Northwest NATO, and the I-405. Lastly, as I did mention, we are looking at kind of best practices and approaches for the upcoming master plan work, and we anticipate coming back towards the end of this year and working with you all to both update you on all of these activities, as well as hold a work session to kind of explore our best approaches before we move forward with any solicitations or master planning activities. That concludes our remarks.
Thank you. I just wondered about the status of community outreach on this. Is the stakeholder advisory committee still active, or has that been sort of set aside for the moment and then to be reactivated later, or what's going on there?
They were specifically put in place for the framework plan, and so their mission has been fulfilled. As part of our brainstorming of best practices, we are looking at a variety of public engagement opportunities, and whether that means bringing back the same committee, a different structure, a steering committee. I think one of the things that we are looking to balance is how do we have a focused group of outside interest who's kind of following us in detail through the project, but also balancing the broader public outreach and engagement that we would like to do, and kind of balancing the empowerment and engagement of those different bodies. And so what's the best approach? We will be doing some additional public outreach in the near term as part of our racial equity impact analysis. So we're kind of going through an internal audit and review process and brainstorming. We'll also do some additional public engagement leading up to that.
Thank you.
First of all, it's a great step, and it's been fun to watch, and congratulations on all the great work by everybody. Two requests. One is on the prior slide, I'd like to request to add a bullet, and that would be to meet or consult with capital market experts in terms of how different options we might look at to structure a transaction. This is a very large opportunity, and I think getting that outside advice would be really helpful. And the second one's a subset. I'm sure you'll be looking at it, but one of the things I'd be really curious to look at on the sustainability piece, and that is how we can source materials that are appropriate from rural communities in Oregon. We've got a rural-urban divide that's existed for a long time, and if we can help support that rural community through purchasing products from them, I think that'd be really terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, just following on to Commissioner Eland's remarks about that, I think there's a lot of interest in having this project be a signature sustainability project, a signature equity and diversity project, a signature housing project. I have to say that, Javier. But I am actually very serious about that this is an opportunity for Portland to put its best foot forward and do something that's really special. So a lot of interest in that and a lot of interest from your commission in that. And it's just exciting to see it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, with that, I'm going to adjourn the regular PDC board meeting. And I think we should probably have a short executive session. Do you have the wording for me for that so I get it right? So the Portland Development Commission will now meet in executive session for purposes of considering the employment of a new executive director. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192-6602A. Only representatives of the news media and designated individuals would be allowed to attend the executive session. If any other individuals are in the room, all other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations or discussions made during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and formally adjourn this board meeting. Wow, I cleared them out, didn't I?
Good job.
you should give yourself the kudos for all the work you've done for citizens.
You know, I told the mayor I wanted time and a half.
And we can just,
You want triple time?
You got it. Chair Kelly, you can go ahead and
All right,
reconvene and then adjourn.
We're now adjourning the executive session of the Portland Development Commission and adjourning the regular meeting as well. Thank you all.